Hey everyone, number 30 on my list of 100 greatest songs of all time is All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. It's the title track from his first solo album after the Beatles broke up. I think he was relieved at this point that the Beatles did break up because he wasn't having a particularly good time anymore, and his creativity was being kind of pushed aside because obviously Lennon and McCartney were always going to take the songs and the album the tracks. It was always like two tracks per album for George Harrison, and he had played around with this song for a couple of years with them from since 1968 right through to 70 when the solo album did come out, and it's quite strange that they didn't figure out a placement for this song before they broke up, because they could have done it on the Let It Be album when they stripped everything back and without overdubs and things. They could have done it on that album, but they didn't, and George had I Me Mine on that album. What I didn't know about it was based on a poem by Timothy Leary, who was the psychedelic king or whatever of America. And Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles was also based on a piece of work by him. And his poem, it reads, "All things must pass, a sunrise does not last all morning. All things must pass, a cloudburst does not last all day. All things pass, that a sunset all night. All things pass, what always changes. Earth, sky, thunder, mountain, water, wind, fire, lake. These change, and if these do not last, do man's visions last? Do man's illusions? Take things as they come, all things past." And his hold on, I get the lyrics from George Harrison for the song. What I noticed is George's Englishness and the way he speaks. He shortened little words here and there, and it made it more his own. Excuse my voice, by the way. I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment, so I'm actually going to try and sing this in a minute, which is going to be hilarious. But his lyrics start with, "Sunrise doesn't last all morning, a cloudburst doesn't last all day." So he just lifted those lines. "Seems my love is up and has left me with no warning, but it's not always going to be this grey. All things must pass, all things must pass away. Sunset doesn't last all evening, a mind can blow those clouds away. And all this, my love, is up and must be leaving. It's not always going to be this grey." And the chorus again. "None of life's strings can last, so I must be on my way and face another day. Now the darkness only stays at night time. In the morning it will fade away. Daylight is good at arriving at the right time," which is a great lyric. "It's not always going to be this grey," and back into the chorus again. George was very spiritual a man. He found spirituality through his kind of love and obsession for India, and he hung around with the Hare Krishnas, had them living in his on his property, and he did become quite. He was kind of funny. Like, we're all kind of two-faced and hypocritical at times. Some worse than others in how they use it, or how they can manipulate people and things like that. But he was very, whilst being very spiritual and very down to earth and all this stuff, he did still take drugs and stuff. He didn't find complete enlightenment through his meditation. He meditated quite a lot, and he didn't find complete enlightenment through that. He still smoked weed and whatever else drugs he did. But this is the kind of the George that I love. His idea of allowing, or the deepness. There was depth to him. He was quite a deep person. He could be shy and retiring, but he put up a fight if he needed to as well. And I think that on this album, there's some incredible songs. It's a double album. That's how much stuff he had backlogged that he couldn't get out with the Beatles. He had Phil Spector working on it, and he's a lunatic, as everybody knows. And his behaviour was very erratic, so he did leave George with a lot of work to do on this production-wise. He didn't just come in and produce it fully as a producer would. Phil Spector was in and out of the sessions, and sometimes George would just like send him a tape, and he'd wouldn't get any feedback. But he did give him feedback in this song. He actually said, any honest vocal on this and you've nailed it, because he thought that the lyrics and the music were great. And Harrison had Ringo playing it, and Eric Clapton was in the sessions. I don't know if he played on the album. There's still a little bit of on the song. There's still a little bit of confusion about that. They did have Bobby Keys on the brass section, who played with the Stones a lot, and you know, they all kind of hung around with each other. The brass section is beautiful. I love that. The strings amazing. It's kind of piano led, acoustic guitar led. From the first time I heard this, and I think I heard it on a Best of George album. I think I bought an album that was like the Best of George, and it was some of his stuff from the Beatles and some of his stuff from his solo career, just like 13 or 14 songs. And I had this before I bought the double album, All Things Must Pass. And it's always struck me as just this absolute beautiful, timeless piece of music. And I've talked about this before on these 100 greatest songs that I'm doing, like that, you know, this song seems to have just been around all the time, forever. And it's not a hugely complicated song. It's the lovely part of it is it goes back into A, so it's E, like E A for the verses, and then it goes to a B minor, A, and it's just gorgeous. Now, like I said, excuse the voice. I love about this because it's quite high on George's range, so he is pushing the vocal a little bit, and where he could have gone to falsetto and some, he doesn't, and he remains on his head voice, and I do quite like that. So much doesn't last all morning. The cloudburst doesn't last all day. Then it goes, all things must pass. All things must pass away. That's pretty much it. There's no other chords in it. There's a squib on the E part. There's a variation of E sus4. There's an E major 7 in there. You know, it's tiny little movements of, as I imagine George wrote on guitar, tiny little movement on the finger. And it's a brilliant song, and it's such a shame that, well, it's not, is it though? I don't know if it is such a shame. I was going to say it's such a shame that the Beatles didn't record it, but like, giving it to George as that, you know, it's great that he had it as a solo, really. I always think, oh, it wouldn't be great with the Beatles, but you know, that's just like bias. There's another, he was quite influenced by the band. I mentioned them way back in their songs. Had Cripple Creek, up on Cripple Creek on this, and he visited them up in Woodstock because he was friends with Dylan. Dylan was playing with the band, and he was hugely influenced by their sound, and the new sound coming from America, and it did. I think it influenced this song. I think it influenced his songwriting approach, and the stripped bare thing is like, the band were very like that, but the stripped bare thing could have also come from the Let It Be sessions, where maybe his idea of the initial sound of what he wanted on this was the stripped bare piano, drums, bass, guitar. But once you get Spector in, he's going to come in and he's going to put strings and load it up and try to get 2 drummers and Ringo and Jim Keltner and all these people in on it. And I don't think it ruined it. There's many songs that Phil Spector ruined, and like, he's a great producer with the Wall of Sound and all that, but he did ruin some brilliant songs by just overwhelming the song with just too much instrumentation. And I think it works on this. It's just on the right side of subtle. So yeah, all things must pass as this video must. Thanks for watching. Bye.